here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's June 28th here in Seoul. I'm Shin-Yun, and this is News Generation, where we make the news at Arirang's very own open studio. Every morning, we'll discuss the top issues and latest current affairs affecting people in their 20s and 30s. Joining me in the studio is Kim Seong.
Good morning, Yan.
Good morning, and Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. Let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. Our first story starts in North Korea. The UK-based development initiatives found more than 10 million people in the north need humanitarian assistance, mainly because the country is suffering from a major food shortage. The assessment was made in the annual Global Humanitarian Assistance Report. The report stressed this isn't surprising, though, because since 2019, Pyongyang, along with Yemen, Syria, Afghanistan, and Venezuela and others, had more than 10 million requiring assistance. Moving on to what's happening here in South Korea. Though we're soon to be a super-aged society, we have recently gained the notorious title of having the highest elderly poverty rate among all OECD member countries. The figure stands a little over 40%, according to the Korea Employment Information Service. Experts found that the lack of retirement preparation and high employment rate among the elderly exacerbates economic difficulties among the senior population. They also pinpointed the lack of public and private pension systems. And last but not least, bereaved family members of the Itaewon Crush tragedy have filed a lawsuit against tech giant Apple to unlock the phones of their deceased child. Now, this family wanted to find out the last whereabouts of their child by looking into their phone, but couldn't access it because they didn't know the passcode. Apple has a very strict privacy policy to make their software virtually unhackable. It even has history of refusing to assist the FBI in its attempt to get inside a criminal's phone. Now, you may think it'd be quicker to just press random numbers to open the phone, right? But Apple has strengthened its privacy software to make sure only the phone's owner can go in. The Washington Post found out that if the phone is locked with a 6-digit passcode, there are a total of 56.8 billion combinations you have to try out. You also have to keep in mind how you'll be locked out of the phone, so it would take you potentially 144 years to break a phone open without knowing the passcode. And we discussed here on NewsGen the right to be forgotten before. At the time, we didn't cover this angle, whether it's appropriate to be looking into social media posts or inside the phones of the bereaved to find more clues and details about their death. Now, where do you stand on this issue? I remember you covered that episode, right?
Yes, yeah, well, I was on that episode, and though I do understand how curious the parents might be of where their whereabouts were around that time, I don't think that really helps the investigation on what's happening. For me, I still stand that I think unless it's extremely suspicious of how they passed away, they died, you don't need access to the phone if you're a family member or a friend. However, if it's extremely suspicious, that should go to the investigators. So I think that, I don't believe that parents should have access, in my opinion. Example, what if your child did something wrong or terrible and you find out about that, and that could actually help with a further investigation? If you deny the police or anyone the information, you're actually breaking the law.
As a criminology major, you really do think of like 3 steps ahead.
Crime.
Yes.
For sure. Now, what about you, Seong? Would you file a lawsuit against Apple if your loved ones died in an accident and you wanted to look into their phones for more info?
I mean, I think depending on kind of relation it was before the person died, I think it really depends on that. If it was my parent or my children, for example, then you might want to get to the bottom of it. You don't really care if there's some dodgy things on your children's phone or something. You can all just care about it a bit less. But if it's maybe your friend or your ex-lover or something, that might make things a bit more complicated. There might be an actual invasion of privacy. The deceased might have not agreed to it if he or she was still alive. So I think it really depends. But for the purpose of investigation, I think there should be some help. But I think Apple's doing great with the privacy limitations, and that really makes sense. And private companies should guarantee a level of privacy no matter what, something like this to happen.
Yeah, on another note, some people were saying they were relieved to find out that the software they're using is actually virtually unhackable. And that was our news feed for this Wednesday. Let's move on to today's discussion topic. Today is a great day for many people in Korea, including myself, and that's because most of us are getting younger. To find out what this is about, take a look at the screen.
Good morning, New Geners. 28th of June. Today is a special day for me, as well as the people who are the same age as me in South Korea. Let's go hi and say hi to Grace and Walter. Hello, guys. This is for our New Generation fans.
Oh, hi.
Say hello.
Hey, hello.
We'll place you right here so you can see what we do on a daily basis.
Oh, Oppa, why are you so late? You were supposed to be here by 11.
Grace, I can't call me Oppa anymore.
What? Why not? You're 30.
No way, not anymore. Korea has introduced the international age system from today, which means I'm 2 years younger than yesterday.
But you're still older than me.
No, we're in our 20s together now. We're in the same boat, Grace. We can't say that.
Well. I guess if we're going by the new international system, and you know, my birthday is past and yours hasn't.
But we went to the same school, same year.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. So I guess now you can call me Hyung.
Yeah, call him Young.
And Hyung is a little thirsty. So do you mind getting me another drink, please?
Today, NewsGen aims to answer 3 questions. 1. Age seems to be an integral part of how we interact with others here in Korea. Why so? 2. What does our generation think about the new method of calculating age? 3. How will this new age calculation method affect us in our daily lives? So you just saw our little skit that explains what today's about, and it must be a great day for you, Xiong, because you've come back to your 20s.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm acting out the curious case of Seong Kim.
Oh, you mean like the Benjamin Button?
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
You know, aging less by the day.
Yeah, good
back
for
to
you.
your baby.
Good for you. You're a baby now.
Yeah, I'm a
good
little
for you.
infant now.
Now, Walter, for the sake of the skit, you did act like you were born in the year of 1994, but in reality, I know.
In reality, you wish.
Yeah, you were born in the
wish you
1980s.
go back time.
Yes.
So you must not be having the best day compared to Xiong.
Let's 1988. Let's not say 1980s.
Does it make it sound you too old?
It kind of makes me sound like I'm towards the start of the 80s. No, I was towards the end of the 80s. But yes, I mean, I feel like my birthday's past, so I don't get that 2-year
Right.
minus from my age, which wouldn't make any difference because I'd
Doesn't make
still
any
be in my
difference, to be
30s.
honest. Yeah.
But yeah, I just guess it's easier for me now to just go by how in Korea we don't ask for our age usually, we ask for when you were born.
when you're born.
That's how I ask.
Do you like being younger? Does it make a difference for you?
It does for me. I was so happy today when I woke up. I was like, yeah, I'm 26 again. I felt really good.
Great, that's fantastic. Oh,
Exactly. I mean, I don't think
yeah.
many people even care, to be honest.
Really?
It's an ease of progress and things.
Well, not
like
my
that.
family. My family was very happy.
Yeah,
it was like
everybody-
their new birthday or something. But anyways, even now we're talking about age so much, though we're not that far apart in age. Age seems to be a very important element in Korean society, especially when it comes to building relations. And before we talk about that, Xiong, could you explain to us the new method of calculating age that has been implemented from today?
Of course. I mean, so from today, the 28th of June 2023, Korea has officially adopted the international age system, just like the rest of the world. Traditionally, Koreans count age by the specific year you're born in, regardless of your birthday. Also, the Korean system counts a newborn as a 1-year-old, meaning you're already 1 at birth, stemming from the idea that counted life should start from pregnancy. So let me give you a clearer example. Let's have a look at the screen. For an international person with their birthday today, 28th of June, and born in the year 1994, they would have just turned 29 from being 28 yesterday. However, the Korean counted age system meant that you were already 1-year-old at birth, plus it is the 29th year since 1994, currently making you 30 the entire year only in Korea.
Right.
I mean, so in fact, for Koreans, you've always been a year or two younger than your international age. This is especially confusing when you are in other parts of the world, and this change is exactly implemented to resolve some of those confusions, especially if you go global.
A year or two older than the international
Oh,
age,
yes,
right?
yes,
A
yes,
year or two older.
Mm.
Right, but why is it being implemented from today? I think it's a little confusing because I reckon it should have been implemented from January, no?
Yeah, so I mean, using the international age system was one of the election pledges by the current Korean president, President Yoon. The legislation was passed in the parliament with 96.4% positive votes last December, on the 7th of December 2022. 6 months were given as a grace period to prepare and accommodate the slight administrative changes, as well as the public to ease into the concept. So technically, for most crucial age-related policies, such as age for receipt of pensions, retirement age for public and private sectors, elderly public transport support, as well as the health system, have already been based on the international age system.
So we're not going to be seeing too many changes, right, Walter?
Yeah, that's correct. So, like, if you are so-called 19, you don't have to wait another year if you want to, you know, try alcohol because you're a very nice person.
Or something.
Yeah, cigarettes as well, clubs if you want to go clubbing. There's not much changes in that area as that's already been a part of the international system. Same with men who have to go to the military. I guess, as you both have felt and I have not, the only thing that seems to be changing is the confidence of people in saying that they're much younger than they are. But it really just, once you're over 30, it just...
It's all the same.
It's the same.
It's all the same?
Smashed into one.
Well, I hope I can make this day a little happier for you.
No, you're making it worse because you're like celebrating your 20s.
Am I pushing it too hard?
Yeah, you are.
All right, and as we mentioned before, age seems to be a very important part of our lives. It's like a must-ask question or a go-to one at ice-breaking events. And before I ask you two to share how our generation perceives age, I'd like to read out a few comments our viewers made about this subject. Take a look at the screen. Now, Dan Quentin James said, I'm an American with a Korean wife, and I do understand the concept of age. I do think it's appropriate that Korea has now changed the world standard. Gisello Moreno said, yes, it was hard to adjust to at first. Now, when I get asked my age, I just tell people the year I was born and let them do the math. Fam Daniel said, my girlfriend, who is younger than me, but born in the same year, always reminds me she's older because she's Korean and tells me to respect my elders. Now, that's really funny because it's really relatable. I think a lot of Koreans do play with age around a lot, especially depending on which person you're talking to and the situation you're in. Now, do you guys agree with our viewers that age plays a big part in determining what type of relationship you have with other people, Xiong?
I mean, for me personally, not at all. I treat elders with respect and 존댓말, of course, but with
honorific
the equal
speech.
honorific speech, but with the equal welcome and interest as I would be talking to any younger person. So I mean, Korea just has a very specific Confucian culture with the language differing when you speak to your peers or juniors and when you speak to your seniors of even a year or two older. So, and that has always caused a culture of hierarchy.
For sure.
Which is a double-edged sword. You know, you always recognize Korea as a very polite, East Asia, especially Japan and things like that, very polite society and things like that. But it might come under the term of 건대, the concept we've been talking about in a few episodes before as well, about sort of, you know, putting things down on younger people just because they're even a year or two younger. They'll be like, oh, we'll see, we saw it in the video as well. Walter's like, go get me water, you've been born 2 months after me. You know,
also,
things like that.
Yeah, and what I found really interesting when I was going to a Korean university was even though you're in the same grade level,
same age.
Same age, but different grade level, right? Then you would have to call them 선배, which is another honorific speech for
even at
calling
work
to a
as well
senior.
in Korea, even if you're much older. But if Walter joined a lot later, then, you know.
He would still have to use honorific speech to me and then call me 선배님. But anyways.
And get her stuff for her.
Get stuff for me. But let's not do that. Let's not like push people to do something just because we're a little older. That's not how we are.
No.
But Walter, would you like to share your experience on how important age seems to be to Korean society?
Well, it is very important, and in fact, it's so involved in the culture that it's spread out through the world in a rude way, because in Western countries, we don't really ask, how old are you? Right? But in Korea, it's very common. It's almost a conversation starter.
It is,
Yeah, so, but it just really just depends. For me, I have friends who, you know, are 10 or 11 years younger than me, people on our staff, people like yourself. I'm the oldest. And I also have friends who are 70 years old, and I treat them in very much the same way. Obviously, yes, there is, like Xiong said, the elders who maybe I don't know, I would treat them differently and with a different kind of respect. They say intimate partners, there's, you know, love knows no age. I disagree, but I guess that's a hot topic. I think that if you're much older, you have less commonalities with a younger person.
Gap.
Yeah, I think so. But date who you want. I'm not your dating expert. But overall, I think that it's really good for Korea to go to the international system.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it's like the first question you think of when you meet someone on the street. You can be like, hi, how are you? How old are you?
Yes.
And as soon as you know their age, it sort of determines like the hierarchy and
which
like
is,
the
doesn't
language,
make any sense.
Yeah,
to be honest.
and I guess that's why a lot of people are so fixated on June 28th today.
Yes.
To see this whole international age system come about. And to find out whether this is the case only here in Korea or if people abroad can relate, we have a live interview with a fellow millennial from the States. We'll include her in our talks shortly after this. We're going to hear what foreigners think about South Koreans and their obsession with age. It's Lee Holland, a YouTuber, educator, and model from the States. She's lived in Korea for almost 10 years, and we've had her on our show in our earlier episodes. Welcome back, Lee.
Hello, good to see you again.
Good morning, Lee.
All right, Lee. So I'd like to ask you the first question. From today, South Korea will be using the international age counting system. And some like Xiong here and me have been looking forward to this moment. Anything you're looking forward to seeing in Korea following this measure taking off?
Well, I definitely hope everyone will feel like lighter and happier because we're all younger.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing I'm looking forward to is things getting less complicated. Because it can be so complicated talking about age in Korea.
Right.
And especially for me, when meeting new Korean friends, they don't know how I'm calculating my age. So in the past, no matter if I was speaking Korean or English, they would say, oh, is that your Korean age? Is that your international age?
Right.
So I would say both. And then we've spent 2 minutes of the interaction just figuring out how old I am.
Exactly. So I mean, that's always the case as well. You know, I do some interviews as well with a lot of foreign population here as well, and it's always a conversation starter. You know, is that what's your international age? Is that your Korean age? And that's always been confusing for everybody. And as we've discussed so far, age seems to be very important for us, the Koreans, especially when we meet new people or get to know one another. Have you ever seen or experienced people prioritizing age when getting to know you here in Korea or in other parts of the world?
Only here, only in Korea.
Yeah.
Now, I'm American, and most of my traveling has been in Europe, so I haven't experienced everywhere. But in Korea, definitely. And I had a funny story recently. I moved to a new city a few months ago, and I'm just joining new groups and making new friends. And a week ago, a new person joined our group, and we had to go around introducing ourselves. And the first guy in our group said his name and his age. And then we all had to say our name and our age. So I was like, oh, it's not job, it's not where we're from. Like we have our priorities. Now we are ranked.
How do you feel about that? Do you feel comfortable like getting ranked by age?
Yeah.
Or do you think that's a little bit silly in a sense?
I think in the past, I think it bothered me because I didn't like being sorted that way. Because I think interpersonal communication is so complicated. Like, there's so much in getting to know another person. I think it's a little bit too easy. By now, I'm used to it. So it's going to be interesting going back the other way. It's like, oh, it's a little more equal now, or it could be more equal now.
And do you find calling people, like younger people, do you ask them to call you 언니 and stuff like that too?
I don't ask them to, but I let them know it's okay. And they really love it because I have many Korean friends where I'm their only international friend. So it's kind of fun for them to say 누나 or 언니 to an American.
That must be.
Well, I grew up in Australia, and so it was also a very different thing for me to come to Korea, and I understand the uncomfortableness. What was more uncomfortable was when someone would ask me, "What's your American age?" And I'm like, "Australians age as well," just to let you know. Like, there's not really an American age. But yeah, so why do you think Korea had so many different methods of calculating age and categorizing people by year they were born, or when they went to school, for example? What did you think about that?
Well, my guess was that it had to do with the way the society was constructed. You know, it's 한민족, it's one people, so in that case, it's good to have a lot of systems that we can differentiate ourselves by. And it's certainly good to have order in society. So I could understand the logic behind it. But I also know in any culture, too many shortcuts can create problems. So I was guessing it had to do with Confucianism a little bit.
Yeah, it does root back to Confucianism for sure. Thank you so much, Lee, for sharing your thoughts and your experience with us today.
Thank you, Lee.
You're welcome.
Lee.
It's always good to see you guys.
Lee mentioned a lot of great points. I think what I was also bothered by was, depending on my age, there would be some stereotypes.
Yep.
Like you would be like this, and
Yeah.
then the dynamic of the relationship just completely shifts once you reveal your age. But on a positive note, we are becoming a bit younger. Do you guys have like a newfound mission in life or a way you would like to live out from today?
I mean, no, I mean, not really for me. I kind of feel like age is just a number. I never really liked the concept of Korean sort of society looking
Fixated
down
on age.
on younger people. And it's just like an automated thing. I sometimes get expected for my younger friends, they expect me to be a bit rude to them, bit like, "Oh, Mo, go get me this or that," which doesn't really make sense.
Right.
And Korean society has always been very traditional and conservative. Old concepts about having to behave a certain age, a certain way at a certain age has made the society very stressful as well, in a sense. You know, I've always thought it'll do good for the society for people to stop caring about age, and so that they may interact with each other based on personal capacity, not just your age. Maybe where you're at your job or your interests and more hobbies or things like that. Rather than having like a seniority over one another that might be undeserved or a bit unfair just because it's a natural order.
Yeah, that's a relatable point for sure. What about you, Walter?
Says the young person over there.
Exactly, guys like this, the conde.
Listen, let me just tell you the truth. Once you hit 30, things just change. Your body
30 is
is
still
just
young.
30 is young, but you get up, like, I don't know if you make the noises that I make when I get up now, like getting out of the chair, I'm like, but it really does depend on obviously your health as well.
Yeah.
If you feel young, then you look young, then it's different. But like, I'm sure some people thought that Xiong was older than me because he dresses very sophisticated, and I dress like I just rolled out of bed. So, but like it does make me a little hopeful that in the future I can make friends with younger people here in Korea. I mean, I know that I'm the oldest of the crew and of the cast members, and we have a very young writer, and we get along quite well. So it's good to know that I am still able to hang out with the young people.
Yeah, and today, in light of the fact that we're now going to be using the international age calculation method, we took a look at how our generation views age by listening to Xiong and Walter here. And that's all we have for you today. We'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Kim Xiong
My pleasure.
and Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
And thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are
News Generation.